in goal setting is sit side by side with intuition and dreaming and imagination. I think you
Yeah,
need both.
yeah. So you're coming with a really good what I like and I resonate with you is the fact that it's got to be grounded. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you and I both know about living in the light, and it came out like 10 years before, The Secret, and how important we had enough time to go through what didn't work, you know, in terms of just intending. And
Hmm.
it is the groundwork. It's like, it's all right saying I want to have organic, abundant organic food in my fridge and I'm going to do a vision board, but you have to go to buy it. You know,
Exactly.
sometimes you can get there where someone may bring that to you, but you still have to have the intention that you're willing to get up and go and walk
Yeah.
for it,
You
you
need to
know.
realize that you're
So,
not just a head, you're a body as well.
yeah, exactly. So it's connecting heaven and earth. And I think that that's really important what you're saying, because a lot of clients will come to me and talk about The Secret, and I will say it's really good, but you still have to ground yourself within that. So when you're doing your, you know, your writing and you do retreats as
Hmm.
well, and also with your book, was there a process? Did you kind of have a goal setting process with that? Um, how did you get from A to B with your book?
Um, I knew when well, it kind of came from the blog. I whispered to a friend as well. I was writing the blog for MySpace back in the day that I kind of made a little whisper and said, I know I'd really like to write a book, but I didn't believe it.
Yeah,
And that was probably back in autumn 2006, just as everything was just about to kick off and my whole life was just about to go off on a crazy tangent, which in retrospect I thought, well, I'm going to have to write about this because you couldn't make this
yeah,
stuff up if you tried. And then all the synchronicities and coincidence come in and you start thinking this is just too wild.
yeah.
And I kind of knew that at some point, and it was all very intuitive, but I knew when after I'd signed up for the marathons and the whole thing took off on that front, I knew at some point I would have to sit down and finish what I'd started and complete this commitment to myself. But people around me didn't believe me because I was always a sort of a flitty flighty, never finish anything kind of person. So once I'd done the first marathon and then the second marathon and then the third marathon, people started to sit up and take a lot more notice that actually she's beginning to finish what she starts, which is what my New
Mm.
York Marathon t-shirt said. And I still wear that. I've still got that one. You know, I finished what I started. It's not about the time. It doesn't matter how fast or how slow. It's about finishing what you start. And then I knew that after having that and other things that happened along the way, I knew I had it in me then to sit down and write the book. And it was almost as though I'd blurt it out anyway, just to anyone. You know, I'm going to write this book. And they go, really? And it's like, am I? Did I just say that to you? Still not kind of quite believing it. And then I knew when I got back from the third one, I knew the time had come. But then the other thing is as well, it tells you. So I knew I had to write it because, again, it's this thing, do you do it or does it do you?
Yeah,
And so the book was always going to be written. It was always there. It's just, it's moving towards you at the same time as you're moving towards it. But what I did was try to force it too soon because I felt, well, I've had these adventures, I've had this wonderful time. Now people are going to like, come on now, Thea, come up with the goods. But it doesn't work like that. It was almost like, it's almost like you become pregnant with it and then it takes several months for it to get the momentum. But it, you know, it's on its time frame as much as yours, and that's the frustration because you're
hmm,
thinking, well, I'm here in the world and I've got to show up and do my side of it. But then at the same time, it knows the right time. So I sat down, I think I got back from the third marathon in November 2008. I sat down in the January and thought I'm going to start writing it. Knew I was writing a really crap book. Knew it. Every day I knew it. And it wasn't being a critic. It was just, it's not the right time. And I had a few signs and a few other coincidences, which I'm keeping back for the next book. Because a little voice was saying, not yet, not yet. And then the laptop got stolen, which was like, and when I saw the scene, I never take my laptop out. It's always usually based in the house. The one time. And if you'd have seen where the laptop got stolen from, it was almost like the hand of God had reached in through the back car window, took that laptop away and said, you will not write this book now. Listen.
wow.
But you know, when I saw it, even though I was going, ooh, a book's been stolen and the laptop's been stolen, boo-hoo, a little voice was just sort of laughing and going, yep, I can just imagine that book's been taken away into the glass. The book's gone
Wow.
because it's crap. Now, Thea, listen. And then I started, writing another version. And then the whole Eat, Pray, Love really kicked off on it. And I just thought, this isn't helpful now, because Eat, Pray, Love was just everywhere. And when you're trying to find your own voice, and, you whether you're an artist or whether you're a singer, you've really got to get quiet with your own thoughts so that you're not being influenced by other people who are in your field.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing, listening to your voice. And then that all kicked off and blew up, and it was everywhere you turned, and everyone was talking about it. And there were a lot of parallels between my journey and hers.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't even want to mention them now, because people will think, it's like Eat, Pray, Love. And it's like, no, I was doing some of the things she was doing at the same time she was doing them,
Yeah.
There are these parallels in our journeys.
Yeah.
And then I got influenced too much by her book. So after writing about 120,000 words, my boyfriend was getting all excited, the book's nearly finished. And then I just deleted it. And he was just mortified. He was just like, I can't believe you've done that. And I said, it wasn't the right book. I just knew I was just too much influenced by someone else's voice, and I was trying to listen to mine. So I went out for a walk, and I think that was getting on for late summer then in 2009. And I went out for a walk, and I just had this conversation with myself, with my deep self. And I said, right, whatever you want me to write, I'll write. I just trust whatever you want me to write. And the voice that came out at times was quite like a teacher, and I didn't want the book to be like that, but there is a teacher in there that has experiences and wisdom to share. And that was really difficult, because I just thought, I don't want people to think of me necessarily as a teacher or preaching. I just want to share my experiences, and if people can find themselves in my story, then that's great. And so I came back from this walk, and I sat down and started to write the third version of the book, which would then become the one that was published. And I wrote it in about 6 weeks. It took about another 6 weeks to edit it, and then it came out in the following April. So, and it was a hard thing surrendering to the book, because it's like it had an idea of what I should write. I had an idea, and it was a bit of a wrestling in between. Because I had to surrender, and again, you're kind of having to do things that don't make sense. But now, in retrospect, almost 2 years on, a lot of the things that I said, it's like, okay, that's why you wanted me to write that. Okay, now I get it. Didn't get it at the time, and I thought, oh my God, people are going to think, but when you look back, you think, okay, that makes sense. That's starting to make sense.
Good.
So.
It's prevailing in the book. It's really, the book is really, for me, I just couldn't put it down. So it's really, it's really meaningful. That's what I'll describe. It's meaningful. So, like you said, you wasn't teaching, you wanted to share. So it's about that giving back again, isn't it, really, as opposed to telling. There's a difference. So with creativity then, how important is it? I mean, obviously you've just expressed that, but how is it important for you to creatively express yourself?
Well, it's a funny one with writing, because writing, apparently I've always written, but I never as a child said that I wanted to be a writer. I was pulled up in school for the quality of my writing or the poor quality of it. I'm told off for that. But apparently I always used to write, and my auntie tells me you was always scribbling stuff in corners, and I don't remember it. And I think the case is sometimes if you're with our innate talents and gifts and qualities, is sometimes we just take them so for granted. We just don't see them because it's as natural to us as anything else, and because it's just so ordinary to us and so kind of unspectacular. We always think that, our destiny, our life's calling is always going to be this great, big, fantastic thing. And when you find it, everything will fall into place, and you'll wake up every day and you'll think, yes, I want to write. And it's not like that. I think it's so natural. You just don't see it, and you almost dismiss it. Right. And it's only with people, when I look back, people have said to me over years, I really enjoy reading your writing and reading your stuff, and you kind of think, oh, thanks, and kind of leave it at that. But then it gathered momentum, and the way with MySpace as well, which was a fantastic medium. I remember Facebook hasn't come near it for me, or Twitter or anything else, and I don't think it will. I think it was just a moment in time. But people came to the writing and were like, you need to write more, and you just think, really? Yeah. Right? Okay. And you still don't kind of quite take it seriously. But I think with creativity, particularly with writing, it's not something that I necessarily enjoy. It's more a means to an end, and it's the thing that comes most naturally to me. I'm not as good at painting. I can't play an instrument. I'm just not built that way. But for me, I can write, and I appreciate the musicality of writing, and that's how I approach it. Writing has a poetry that you either get or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think you either see, when I write a piece, I'm listening to it. I'm not just looking at the grammatical, technical structure. I listen to the flow of the piece, and does it, and that's stuff like that matters to me. So for me, writing is musical, and I really respect it. Doesn't necessarily mean to say I enjoy it, though, because most days you can be wrestling with a blank piece of paper and not knowing where to go. But it comes most natural. So creativity is important. And I think urbandeva, where I'm hoping to go with that, say I hope, I don't think I have a choice, I think I'm going there whether I like it or not, is to create a beautiful space. I just don't think, and this is what my study into depth psychology has helped with, that we undervalue the importance of beauty on the psyche. And yet, for example, I have beautiful flowers outside our house and a beautiful flower basket, and I really maintain it in lovely bright colours, and everyone's just always gawps at it when they go past it, because we crave beauty. And we so often undercut, we just think, well, we'll throw up cheap buildings in city centres because it's all about cost and price and efficiency and functionality, and it's not. It's about, where are the schools that are now, the schools that are being built today are just cubes. They're just unimaginative cubes. They're not these beautiful buildings carved out of stone that will last for generations and will hold history and secrets. That speaks to the soul. That speaks to the psyche. And that's what I want to create with urbandeva. It's almost like that field of dreams idea that if you build it, people will come, and they won't know why they're there, and they won't really have, they'll just want to maybe do a yoga class or buy an inspiring book or eat a nourishing meal that in an environment that nurtures them and holds them. And they might not have any ideas about personal transformation, but just being there. And I think that's what I want to create, online, with books eventually, with the online publication, and then eventually with the physical space. It's to create a beautiful space where people feel inspired. So creativity, visual stuff is very important to me, because I understand its impact on the psyche, even if our culture doesn't, because its big myth is the economic myth. So, who cares about beauty when it's all about money? Well, sorry, no, it isn't. It isn't. Creativity is very important to me.